My grandfather was 78 years old when I left the Amish community, and every single morning he was up at 5:30 working in the barn. Not because he had to, not because there was nobody else to do it, but because the idea of sitting around doing nothing was completely foreign to him. And that's when I realized something. Amish old men live by a completely different set of rules than the rest of the world. There are things they simply never do, things that most men their age in the English world consider normal, even expected. I'm Sarah. I grew up Amish in Pennsylvania, left when I was 18 years old, and I've spent a lot of years trying to understand both worlds. And one of the biggest culture shocks I've experienced is seeing how differently the English world treats older men compared to how we treated our grandfathers and great grandfathers. So let me break down 5 things that Amish old men never do, things that might surprise you, and things that might actually teach the rest of the world something about aging with purpose. Thing number 1, Amish old men never retire. And I don't mean they keep working a little bit here and there. I mean the concept of retirement doesn't even exist in our vocabulary. There's no pension plan. There's no 65 and done. There's no moving to Florida to play golf for the rest of your life. That would be considered wasteful, lazy, and honestly a little bit sad. My grandfather ran a dairy farm his whole life. When he hit his 50s, he passed the main operation over to my uncle, his oldest son. But did he stop working? Absolutely not. He just changed what he did. He still got up every morning to help with milking. He still repaired equipment. He still gave advice on when to plant, when to harvest, when to sell. His role shifted from doing all the physical labor to being the wise voice that guided the farm. And this isn't unique to my grandfather. Every old Amish man I knew growing up was the same way. They might slow down, sure. They might not be able to lift 100-pound feed bags anymore, but they found other ways to contribute. Woodworking, teaching young boys how to fix buggies, serving as the community record keeper, writing in the local Amish newspaper about births, deaths, weddings, and community events. The Amish call this the slowing down period, not retirement. You slow down, but you never stop. And here's why. The Amish believe that work is a form of worship. Being productive, contributing to your family and community, that's how you honor God. Sitting around doing nothing isn't rest, it's wasting the life God gave you. So even when Amish men reach their 70s and 80s, they keep finding purpose through work. Compare that to the English world where men work 40 years, retire, and then spend the rest of their lives watching TV, going to doctor appointments, and complaining about being bored. I've seen it since I left. Men who spent decades being productive suddenly have nothing to do, and they don't know who they are anymore. Their entire identity was tied to their job, and once that's gone, they're lost. Amish men never face that problem because they never stop being useful. Thing number 2, Amish old men never go to retirement homes or nursing facilities. Ever. I cannot stress this enough. The idea of putting your aging parent in a building full of strangers to be cared for by people who get paid to do it, that would be considered one of the worst things you could do in an Amish community. It would be seen as abandonment, as failing in your duty as a child, as breaking the most basic family obligations. Instead, when Amish men and women get old, they move into what's called a doty house. That's Pennsylvania Dutch for grandfather house. It's a small addition built onto the main farmhouse, or sometimes a separate small house right next to it. My great-grandparents lived in a dowdy house attached to my grandparents' house. It had its own entrance, a small kitchen, a bedroom, and a sitting room. They could be independent when they wanted, but family was always right there. Every day, my grandmother would bring them meals. My mother and aunts would stop by to help with cleaning or laundry. Us grandkids would run in and out, asking great-grandpa to tell stories or asking great-grandma to teach us something. They were still part of the family rhythm, still included in everything, still valued and loved and needed. And here's what the English world doesn't understand. Taking care of your aging parents isn't seen as a burden in the Amish community. It's seen as a privilege and a duty. You're repaying them for the years they spent raising you. You're honoring them the way God commands. And honestly, it's just what you do. Family takes care of family, period. There are rare exceptions. Sometimes an Amish person has such severe medical needs that the family genuinely cannot provide the level of care required. In those cases, yes, they might go to a care facility, but it's incredibly rare, and it's always seen as a last resort, never a first choice. Research actually backs this up. Studies have shown that Amish elderly who age in place, living with or near family, have the same health benefits as quitting smoking, being surrounded by people who love you, staying connected to your community, having purpose and meaning in your daily life. All of that adds years to your life and life to your years. Thing number 3, Amish old men never take Social Security or rely on government programs. This one surprises a lot of people. Amish are actually exempt from paying into Social Security, and they don't receive Social Security benefits. Same with Medicare and Medicaid. They don't participate in government retirement programs at all. Why? Because the Amish believe in being self-sufficient and taking care of their own. Relying on the government goes against that principle. They see government assistance as a form of dependency that weakens both the individual and the community. So instead of paying into Social Security their whole lives and then collecting checks in old age, Amish save their own money and rely on their families and community for support. When my grandfather needed a hip replacement a few years before I left, the surgery and hospital stay cost over $30,000. He didn't have insurance. He didn't apply for any government help. Instead, the deacon in our church district went door to door, and every family in our district contributed what they could. Within 2 weeks, the full amount was raised. The hospital even gave a discount because they knew they'd be paid in cash immediately with no insurance paperwork to deal with. That's how it works. If someone has a major medical expense, the community pools together to cover it. If someone's barn burns down, everyone shows up to rebuild it. If someone can't work because of illness or injury, neighbors help with the farm or business until they're back on their feet. It's a system that's worked for hundreds of years, and it works because everyone contributes and everyone knows they'll be taken care of when they need it. Thing number 4, Amish old men never stop being physically active. I'm not talking about going to the gym or running marathons. I'm talking about the kind of movement that's just built into daily life. And this is one of the reasons Amish men stay so healthy into old age. Research done by the American College of Sports Medicine found that Amish men take an average of over 18,000 steps a day. 18,000. Most doctors tell people to aim for 10,000 steps, and most people don't even hit that. Amish men are doing almost double that without even trying, just by living their normal lives. My grandfather walked everywhere, to the barn, to the workshop, to a neighbor's house, to church. He didn't drive, obviously, so walking was just how you got places. He lifted things, he bent down, he carried buckets, he climbed ladders, he sawed wood, he hammered nails. Every single day involved physical activity, not because he was exercising, but because that's what life required. And here's the result. Only about 4% of Amish people are obese compared to over 36% of Americans. Amish have 50% lower rates of type 2 diabetes. They have 63% lower rates of tobacco-related cancers. They have 40% lower cancer rates overall. And a huge reason for all of this is simply that they never stop moving. When I left and started living in the English world, I was shocked by how sedentary everyone was. People drive everywhere, even to go 2 blocks. They sit at desks all day. They come home and sit on the couch all night. Then they wonder why they're overweight and unhealthy. Amish old men don't have that problem because movement is just woven into their entire way of life. Thing number 5, Amish old men never isolate themselves or lose their sense of purpose. This might be the most important one, and it's something the English world desperately needs to learn. In the English world, when men get old, they often become isolated. Their kids move away, their friends die, they stop working, so they lose daily social interaction. They end up spending most of their time alone, watching TV or staring at screens. And research shows that social isolation in elderly people is as dangerous to their health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases the risk of heart disease, depression, cognitive decline, even dementia. Amish old men never face that problem. Why? Because they're still embedded in their community. They still go to church every other Sunday, where they see everyone they've known their whole lives. They still have family nearby, often living right next door. They still participate in community events, barn raisings, weddings, funerals. They're still valued for their wisdom and experience. My grandfather was asked for advice constantly. Young farmers would come to him with questions about crops or livestock. Young men building furniture would ask him how to fix a tricky joint. People sought him out because he had knowledge that only comes from decades of experience. He wasn't some forgotten old man sitting alone in a room. He was a respected elder whose voice mattered, and that sense of purpose, that feeling of still being needed and valued, that's what keeps Amish old men mentally sharp and emotionally healthy well into their 80s and 90s. They don't get depressed because they still have reasons to get up in the morning. They don't develop dementia as quickly because their brains are still active, still engaged, still learning and teaching. So those are the 5 things Amish old men never do. They never retire and stop being productive. They never go to retirement homes away from family. They never rely on government programs instead of community support. They never stop being physically active. And they never isolate themselves or lose their sense of purpose. Now, I'm not saying the Amish way is perfect. It's not. There are plenty of problems in the Amish world that I could talk about, and some of those problems are exactly why I left. But when it comes to how we treat our elderly men, I genuinely believe the Amish have it figured out in ways that the rest of the world has forgotten. Because here's what I've learned since leaving: the English world has made aging something to fear. You work your whole life, then you retire and become irrelevant. You're sent away to institutions where you're no longer part of daily family life. You're expected to slow down, give up, fade away quietly. And that's tragic. Amish old men don't fear aging because aging doesn't mean becoming useless. It means transitioning into a different role, one that's just as valuable. It means being the wise voice, the teacher, the keeper of knowledge. It means staying connected to the people and community you've been part of your entire life. 5 years out, living in the English world, I see old men all the time who look lost. Men in their 70s and 80s who have nothing to do, no one who needs them, no purpose driving them forward. And every time I see that, I think of my grandfather, up at 5:30, even at 78, heading out to the barn because there was work to be done and he could still do it. Maybe the rest of the world could learn something from that.